Good evening and welcome everybody. It is round 12 of 12. It is the grand finale. PSGL F1 season 27 draws to a close, and what track to better be suited for that than the Suzuka International Racing Course, as it is officially known. It is the Japanese Grand Prix. And we are here for the last race of the season to end it all and to then start the wait for season 28 and the final chapter of PSGL on F1 2020. My name is Austin Smith, and before we get into the qualifying action, let's quickly look at what is important. Of course, as mentioned, season 28. The console tiers calendar is out now. The final chapter on F1 2020. And it begins March 23rd. That is just 2 weeks from now. The first PSGL F1 race of the season will be on March 29th. So 3 weeks from now, that's the break the drivers get. The organizers certainly won't get a break at all because they're going to have a whole lot of work in front of them. But for the drivers, a little bit of a breather, and then they head to Bahrain short. Now, looking back, race 11 of 12 of this season saw VSR Vasta Racer take the victory in Abu Dhabi, and not just that, he also got himself driver of the day. The full results here. You see Vasta Racer obviously winning, and then joined by two CRG drivers in the Racing Point Blizzard, and in the Haas, your season 27 drivers champion CRG Sparks. Behind that, we have Domi, Juice, Suso, Gamer, Casper, Wouters, and Dario. And here you can see the confirmation in the driver standings. CRG Sparks is the champion, 19 points ahead, only 17 points on offer maximum tonight. So he is mathematically the champion. What is still open, however, is the Constructors' Championship, because for two drivers, there are 29 points on offer maximum, and Williams is only 20 behind. So both Haas and Williams can win the Constructors' Championship tonight, but on countback, Haas would win, so Williams need at least 21 points over their black, white, and red rivals. And with that, we are heading into qualifying right now, and we are looking at one of the first drivers, as always, to start a lap. It is VSR Jordan, and alongside me is a new voice you may have heard before from the PSGL F4. It is Jake Warrior. Jake, how are you doing tonight?
I am absolutely fantastic. I'm super looking forward to this. And like you've already mentioned, with the Constructors' Championship still up for grabs, it's going to be interesting. It's unlikely that Williams will topple Haas, but, you know, that's what motorsport's all about. Expect the unexpected.
Yeah, it is unlikely, but it is certainly still possible, and we've seen crazier things, stranger things have happened in Formula 1 before, so we need to be careful here. We can't call it too early either, as we see Jordan here go through the Casio triangle. He is not the first one to set a lap time. That is Jordan, who is second in the driver's standings, and immediately beaten by his teammate. Actually, no, yeah, Jordan beats Juice there, and then Sparks immediately beats that by 0.4 of a second. There goes Aero Duncan into, well, temporarily P2, but the times are coming in more and more. We have a Renault next. That is Ashbest, stays goes P6. Next up is an AlphaTauri. That is Domi. Didn't get him in time. Unfortunate. P8. There he is. I think Gamer has invalidated. Yeah, indeed. We had a little bit of an issue there. Vasta Racer goes P1. The first lap times, I mean, look at how close they are.
That's super close at the moment. That was a really nice lap from Vasta Racer. Caught the latter half field, but Blizzard has now gone to the top on 125.1. Very close margins at the moment. But the early laps from Williams aren't positive if they are going to overhaul that 20-point deficit.
Yeah, right now Haas absolutely dominant here. P1, P3, oh sorry, P3 and, well, an invalidation from Gamer, but I think the time that he would have set would have been quite good if I can find it here. Sector 1 for Gamer. I think he may have invalidated in Sector 1 already, so that wasn't very helpful for him. Oh, no, actually he didn't. 30.9 in the first sector. Wouldn't have been that good, actually. So maybe the invalidation for him, a blessing in disguise. The top 8 had a faster first sector than he did. So he would have been around P9, obviously depending on how the second and third sectors would have gone. But he invalidated in the middle. So that ended his run quite early. VSR Lee, the only other driver in the first run to invalidate, as he is rounding this track. 18 corners around here, and the only track, as you may know, that is a figure 8. We have the crossover there in the middle sector and the last sector, really. At the start of the middle sector, we go underneath, and then across the bridge, we go just before 130R in the very, very short final sector.
I have to say that for Blizzard, it's a slightly peculiar one, just looking at his season so far. He's very hit and miss, got 4 podiums to his name, but also 4 DNFs. So, you know, consistency has been the issue, but there's no doubt about it, when he hooks it all up, he's got extreme pace. Maybe this is going to be one of his good nights.
Yeah, it's been a sort of tale of 2 seasons for a few drivers. It's been certainly for Christmas, who got a win, but other than that, just 1 point. So he's on 17 total, and he's got 5 DNFs. Another driver to look at would be VSR Jordan. 3 results in the top 4, and then 2 points, and also 4 DNFs. 3 finishes outside the points. There are quite a few, really. Blizzard, as you mentioned, 4 podiums and 1 extra point in the at the US Grand Prix, and then obviously we have the 2 incredibly consistent drivers at the front, Sparks and Juiced. Almost every race they finished somewhere in the points, and ultimately that's what it's about. You have to score points on the regular. It's nice getting a win, and it's gonna feel amazing, but it will run out very quickly, and then at some point, you know, you're gonna have a 0, you're gonna have a DNF, and you're gonna ask yourself, well, where is this going? The one, I think, development that we have to look at, though, throughout the whole season, if I can, no, he's in the pits right now, is CRG Matthijs. Started the season with 0 points after 3 races. The runner-up of season 26, tied on points with the championship winner, with IGK Gill, and started the season on 0 points for the first 3 races. Then started picking up a little bit, you know, 3 points there, 4 points here, you know, and then the win at the US Grand Prix really put him back on the map. So I think if you're looking at form, CRG Matthijs is certainly someone to look at for this race, but also for season 28.
And that's what it's all about now for those drivers that haven't really got too much to fight for here. It's about preparing yourself for what is going to be a crucial season 28. And obviously, if you can get into that season on the back of a good result here, it fills you with confidence, and that's exactly what I think quite a lot of these drivers are going to be looking for.
Yeah, indeed, as we are looking at Domi. I don't think he is the first one. I thought that was Gil, but I messed up the 2 Alfa Romeo drivers here. So is that... No, that is not Blizzard. Then it's Duncan. He's on an out lap. So one of the Williams, once again, the first one out on a lap, and it would be Juiced, as he is now through Spoon on the long straight towards 130R. The once frightening corner that is now just a shallow of its former self, as he heads through the Casio Triangle final chicane. Very important to get a good run here for starting the lap and for ending the lap, as he comes across the line, and Juice moves up to P4.
Good improvement from Juiced. Found a lot of time on that second lap around. And of course, a lot of these drivers heading into their second laps now. So important time. Sparks goes back onto provisional pole, and Jordan looks like he's invalidated his second attempt.
Yeah, here comes Gamer, meanwhile, across the line. What is his first lap going to be? P6. So this time around, and immediately demoted to P7 as Christmas came across the line to take second place for now. So Christmas, I mentioned him before. 1 win so far to his name, and then 1 additional point in Mexico. Other than that, 5 DNFs and 3 0-point finishes as Vasta Racer immediately takes pole position, provisional pole position back from Sparks. And yeah, very interesting Christmas here. In Italy, he was strong. This is obviously not as fast as Italy, but this is one of the faster tracks on the calendar, going by the average speed of the real life lap record, 230 kilometers an hour on average, and as such faster than tracks like Australia, Bahrain, France, you know, tracks that we would consider, to a degree at least, rather high speed. And Brazil, for example, as well. So Japan here, despite the S's and a lot of corners around here, 18 overall, which is more than the calendar average, we still see very, very high speeds around here and high average speed from the drivers.
Nice effort from Feynman, up to 6th place. Another driver who hasn't really had the best of times recently, just that 1 win in Singapore, but other than that, only scored 2 points in the last 7 races aside from that win. So yeah, not another driver who could do with a bit more consistency coming into next season. And I was mentioning Blizzard earlier having either podiums or DNFs. It looks like that might have struck again, because he did a great lap, and now it looks like he may have crashed out of qualifying.
Yeah, it seems so. As for Timon, I think it needs to be said to sort of explain a little bit why he's been struggling that season. His focus, first and foremost, this season was not PSGL, it needs to be said. In fairness, his focus was, of course, the F1 Esports Series challenges in which he participates. The same is true for Sergi Matais and quite a few other drivers in here, including Vasta Racer, including Domi, including Gil. I mean, all these drivers. I mean, this is basically what we're having here. This kind of field is the F1 Esports Series Challengers light, if you will. We have some of the drivers that are participating in the real one, and that are also participating here. It is basically on the same level. The best, I would argue, the best league on PlayStation outside of F1 Esports.
Yeah, some of the very best around are here in this league, and they're putting up a pretty decent fight so far. Only 6:10 separates the field so far in qualifying. Jordan has invalidated another lap. I believe he invalidated his second attempt as well. So not going to plan for the Williams driver at the moment, and his teammate Juiced has actually yet to come out for his next attempt. So maybe leaving it a little bit longer before going out again. Breaking up that tradition of Juice being the first one out there.
Yeah, we're looking at Suso right now. He is a 10th up in the first sector. He's still going strong. He has not invalidated as he's heading towards Spoon. That middle sector, over 38 seconds long, which makes up almost half of the track in terms of time. So it really is a very, very long sector. In fact, I would almost argue it makes up half the track in terms of distance as well. I mean, it goes from the from just before the crossover all the way to just before the crossover. His middle sector, another 10th.5 improvement, but he aborts the lap. I think due to time constraints. Look at the time, almost 4 minutes left. If he finishes this lap, he doesn't have another lap available to him to try and set the best time in the best conditions. So everyone in the pits right now, Recon, first one to get out there with 3 minutes 40 left, and he's the one warming up the track for everyone else.
You see it so often in other tiers. Time management's a crucial aspect of qualifying. You can't afford to get it wrong, and thankfully there, Suso decided looked at the time and realised that he had to get out back into the pits. Otherwise, that would have been it for his qualifying session. One of the plus points, of course, of this super long middle sector is because the last sector is so simple and short. As a driver, you have a very good idea of where your lap's heading by the end of the second sector, and you probably know from that middle sector time whether or not it's worth finishing the lap.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, looking at the times, the top 10 right now in the standings, less than a tenth apart from each other in the final sector. So it really is very, very close there. But then again, you look at the whole laps from the top 10 and you realize, hey, they're just 3/10 away from each other in the whole lap. So maybe that last sector, despite being so short, isn't as easy as it seems. You have obviously one big factor in it being the top end of the car, and therefore the downforce, the final couple of corners here, the Cassia Triangle, obviously a very slow corner where where downforce is not as important. Downforce from the front wings, generally something that you need in the fast corners, which means basically around here, the first sector. And it really doesn't matter too much once you get through the first sector. You can take the first sector as sort of an indicator as to how much downforce the cars are running. So, for example, I would say Master Racer probably running a bit more downforce on his car, considering he has the fastest sector 1, but not the fastest sectors 2 or 3. So, I think he's running a bit more downforce on his car than, for example, Sparks, Christmas, or Blizzard, who has retired, or Juiced.
That could be very important information to note, and of course, in the race, if he is still in the lead, he'll have come under attack from DRS, and if he hasn't got a straight line speed to cope, he may be at massive threat of losing that lead. So it'll be interesting to see how the different setups play and impact in the race. Recon's on a lap at the moment. His first sector wasn't anything particularly special. What's his second sector looking like? He's found about half a temp up to now, but I mean, to be honest, he only needs half a temp to move up 5 places.
Yeah, Vosserace has had enough. He retires. Did he crash he crashed turn 2. Vosserace crashed turn 2. Oh my days. The provisional pole sitter. I mean, he has to hope for a miracle here as Recon goes up to P5. And I think a lot of times are going to come in now. Matthijs is going to start one. We have the other McLaren to start one, then Ashbest, and I think it's one of the one of the AlphaTauris is Gil, who's going to be the first one, and now we're going to have to be really, really careful here. Gil is going to go up to P11, which means I don't think he's going to run another lap. Casper has already finished his lap, or no, he's just started one, hasn't he? It's getting all confusing here. Sparks coming across the line and does take provisional pole position. So Vosseracer certainly not on pole. Next up is one of the Williams. That would be Jordan. He comes across the line. P18 moves up to P9. Halves his position. Darius stays in P17. We have Gamer. Gamer goes back into the pit lane. Now Lee, he's 19th right now. Can he improve? No, he has invalidated. Will stay last. Dummy coming through the chicane. I think next one is a racing point. That will be Duncan. Dummy up to P6. So good result there from him so far. Duncan, P7 right behind Dummy. Next up is now Juiced. Runner up in the championship. And he goes up to P4. We have a Mercedes that is Wouters. P9. Next is Matthijs, P1, and the first one into the 124s. What a lap that was from Sergi Matthijs. Suso does not improve. We have Ashbest. No, we have not Ashbest. Oh yeah, we do, because Casper is on his way into the pit lane. Ashbest through the final chicane. What is his time going to be? First sector's looked all right. Should improve, stays P16. And I think that is everyone. So Sergi Matthijs confirming his form from the last 3 races, 2 podiums, a win at the US Grand Prix, 2nd place at Mexico, unfortunate DNF at Abu Dhabi, but a pole position here for the Dutchman.
Gotta say, that's an absolutely outstanding effort. Sparks will have seen many other drivers cross the line and not beat his time. May have thought he got it in the bag, but Matthijs there right at the death with a superb lap. And although it's still very fine margins, there's something extra satisfying about seeing your lap time in the different second bracket to everyone else.
I mean, it's just a great result there. A very strong lap. The only one to make it into the 1 minute 24s. And as such, a well-deserved pole position for Sergi Matthijs. Sparks second, Vasa Racer third, Timon fourth, Juice fifth, Christmas 6, Blizzard 7, Domi 8, Duncan 9, Wouters 10, Recon 11, Casper 12, Jordan 13, Gamer 14, Gil 15, Ashbest 16, Dario 17, Suso 18, Lee 19, and apparently with a 5-place grid penalty. Don't know what he got that for, but it won't matter. He will start 19th anyway. Yeah, Williams and Haas here close together, 13 and 14, and near the front, kind of close together. Sparks P2, Juice P5. So right now, everything going Haas's way in the Constructors' Championship battle. As we are now taking a quick look at the track itself, it is, of course, Suzuka. Full name, Suzuka International Racing Course. The only track on the whole F1 calendar that has the word course in it instead of circuit. So maybe, interesting translation there. The tires you see here, the C3, C2, C1, as such, they all have similar gaps to each other, about half a second between the tires, from the soft to the medium, and another half a second medium to hard. The strategy, I would say, soft to medium or soft to hard. Soft to medium, the preferred strategy. But I don't think we'll get to that. You don't see it yet, but you will in a second. The weather has come down. As we quickly go over 5.8 kilometers, one of the longer tracks on the calendar, as such, only 27 laps. You lose about 21 seconds in the pit lane here, 18 corners, and of course the first race held here in 1987. It is a track, of course, with a lot of history, and it is, a track that I think a lot of drivers enjoy. I myself am not the biggest fan of this track, but that's because I can't really drive it. But then again, I can't drive most of these tracks anyway. Certainly not as good as our competitors can. And you see here, they're all on intermediates. So everyone was able to qualify on the softs in part for that reason. They didn't have to care about tire wear. This is intermediate conditions for everyone right now. And it's going to be very interesting to see maybe Vasa Racer. We talked about the downforce difference. If he does have higher downforce on the car, this might be a massive advantage in these conditions.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was literally about to say it could be big news for Vasa Racer, of course, coming back into this race on the back of a win in Abu Dhabi and starting third here, and that's going to be a significant advantage for him if he does run more downforce on the car. Of course, we don't know how the weather will develop over the race. But another point I was going to probably make is the top 5 on the grid, you could argue, are probably the top 5 in terms of form at the moment in F1. So not too many surprises in that regard. But for those outside the top 10, this is not the weather they would have wanted.
Yeah, certainly. The one advantage they have is that they can choose what tire they start on. Well, not in these conditions. Now everyone gets to choose what tire they don't really get to choose. I mean, they get to choose between intermediates and full wets, and of course they all go for the intermediates, as these are the tires better suited to these conditions. Quickly to note, Casper and Jordan have a DSQ behind their names. They are not disqualified from the race. They are only disqualified from the formation lap as they made contact with each other on the formation lap. And the game is very fiddly when it comes to that. So they have cold tires at the start of the race, which means Gamer, Gil, Ashbest, and everyone behind need to be a bit more careful because they are going to be slow through turn 1.
It's not ideal for Jordan. Williams need a massive points haul and starting 13th and having cold tyres to boot, that's going to make it very tricky for him, certainly early doors. So definitely advantage Haas even more so at the moment. And yeah, Jordan might need the race of his life to pull that back.
As the drivers line up now, it's interesting. I'm thinking about what is going on through a driver's mind right now. I've been in this position before, and generally you don't really think much. You just think, okay, you go through the motions, really. You think, okay, I have to do this, I have to do that. Rich mix, usually in these wet conditions, maybe not so much. You want to start on lean to not get wheel spin, and then increase as the car goes. Overtake mode, you know, and a very, very quick run to turn 1.
Absolute drama's about to unfold, I suspect.
As the lights go out and we are underway, and it is a good start from everyone. Matthijs keeps the lead already. Sparks not really challenging him here. Master Racer once again with a struggle start, as he's always shown this season. And there goes Timon down the inside. And woo, Master Racer losing another position there, sliding around, and it's slightly hitting the rear of Juice there. At the front, not much has changed, but we go back and we see Master Racer losing 2 positions. The big gainers of the start, Gamer and Ashbest, 3 positions up, and Jordan lost 4. So it's going incredibly badly here right now for Williams, and pretty well for the Haas to make sure that they do get the Constructors' Championship on top of winning the Drivers already with Sparks as they head through the hairpin here for the first time. Matthijs still leading. He's trying to pull a little bit of a gap here to everyone else, although not so much. You look at the ERS from Matthijs and you realize he's not using much right now. He's taking it calm. He's got a lot left, and apparently it's going to stay in these sorts of rainy conditions for the whole race. So do not expect to see the dry tires in this race whatsoever.
It's really surprising in a way that Master Racer struggled so much at the start, and he was actually the only one who used any sort of ERS early days, but he's lost a couple of spots. And with that higher downforce setup, he may find himself caught in traffic now behind Juiced and Timon potentially. But as you predicted before the start of the race, Casper and Jordan have really struggled off the line on those cold intermediates.
Yeah, 3 positions and 4 lost respectively. By the way, Gamer is not leading, and it is not lap 3. This is a known bug. Apologies for that. Not much we can do about it, unfortunately, but Matthijs still leading the race. Once Gamer comes across the first sector split, it should all rectify itself, and from then we should be fine. Again, apologies for that unfortunate bug there. But once the whole field is past the first sector, which is going to happen right about now. And there it is. There we go. Everyone's back in their correct positions. And very, very close to each other. I mean, 9 seconds between the whole field. Yeah, there's no big gap anywhere. You see zeros across the board before the comma. And I think it's going to stay like that for quite a while.
Lovely move from Ashbest down the inside of a hairpin up into 12th place. It looked for a second like, well, in fact, even so now, I would say Matthijs just starting to stretch his legs out front. He's over a second clear of Sparks now, and just looks at this early stage and he's got a bit more pace than the Haas behind him.
Yeah, certainly does. He was just a second clear, now no more. But look at, again, how little ERS he uses. I mean, Sparks is using the overtake button a little bit. Matthijs doesn't even know it exists, apparently. I mean, he's not touched that overtake button for 1 second, as it seems. Maybe I missed it, but I mean, he's really not using it much. And it's interesting in these conditions as Master Racer makes it past Juice through the first 2 corners. Daring move there to go for an overtake in turn 1, as it always is, but always a great sight to see. Master Racer now up to P4. He's trying to regain those positions that he lost earlier on, and once again we suspect, we have no confirmation of that, but we suspect Buster Race on a slightly higher downforce setup than most drivers here in this field, and that might help him to close the gap to Timon, Sparks, and Matthijs in the front.
He did have a slight helping hand on his way past the Williams. Juiced ran slightly wide at turn 1, which gave Buster Racer the opportunity, exactly what he needed after a tough opening to this race, and he'll try now. Set after the top 3 with still Matthijs leading the way, Sparks keeping close enough order without really threatening, but Timon also looking pretty good in the other Alfa Romeo just behind Sparks.
And meanwhile, one thing to note regarding the ERS, and I think this is very important, if we look at the fastest laps right now, 1 minute 39. If you remember, in qualifying it was 125 roughly, 124.9 by Matthijs. 15 seconds difference, which means obviously in these rainy conditions these are much slower. But that also means that the drivers regain a lot more ERS as they have to brake a lot earlier due to the rain. So who's going to be the first one to adjust, or who's going to be the one to adjust the best?
Oh, I don't believe it. Juiced has gone wide again through turn 1, but he just manages to hold Blizzard at bay for now.
Yeah, it's getting close here. Juice struggling with those first 2 corners apparently. And yeah, as I mentioned, the ERS, who's going to be the best one to adjust to these conditions? That includes the ERS usage. You can use a lot more and regain it over a whole lap, whereas usually in the dry, well, the ERS runs out quite quickly, especially around a fast track like this. So very, very interesting to see here. I think this is why Matthijs is not using, there he was on overtake for a split second, but he's not using much. He's still on 90%, almost getting to the max capacity of 100%. 97 is what he comes out of Spoon with. Now he has to use some. And yeah, it's remarkable to see he's in a lot better shape than any of the cars behind him. Buster Racer struggling down to under 50. It's really, really something to see here how they use their ERS so differently, and it really makes for some interesting dynamics.
Yeah, 2 Alfa Romeos in particular doing great pace despite using the least amount of ERS. I'm just going to stick with Juiced personally through his first 2 turns just to see if he can make it through this time around. It looks like he did, but I would also argue he was a bit conservative going in, so clearly a few worries inside that Williams at the moment of struggling to get to grips with the conditions, certainly in those first couple of turns.
Yeah, one thing to note, by the way, these intermediate tires last around 16 laps maximum. However, we should expect most drivers to come into the pit lane a bit earlier. I would expect lap 11 maybe the first ones, and then the majority of drivers lap 12, lap 13 to go for a slightly earlier strategy. We know how powerful the undercut is, and so most drivers should be expected around lap 11 to 13.
Yeah, and I wonder which drivers will be thinking about the undercut. Maybe CRG Timon might be thinking of an undercut to get him ahead of Sparks. That could be one option that Alfa Romeo go with, particularly as Matthijs doesn't look under massive pressure, and Sparks actually ran wide through Spoon Curve there. Might have lost a temp or two. Doesn't find himself immediately under threat, but the season 27 champion there just making a small mistake, as he's currently in Alfa Romeo sandwich, and I think he's probably looking more in his mirrors but in front of him.
Yeah, it seems so. I mean, Matthijs just dictating the pace here and walking away from the rest of the grid. It really is a great drive from him. Fastest lap to boot as well, 1 minute 39.1. But look at how close it is on the fastest lap. I mean, we have the top 12 all within about, what, 3/10 on their fastest laps? I mean, the incredible consistency from all the drivers, and incredibly close altogether between all of them. One thing that will be important tonight as well is, of course, the penalties. You get a warning every time you leave the track with more than just 2 wheels, the track being everything inside the white lines. And you get 3 of those warnings, that is a 3-second time penalty. So the drivers have to be careful, and I already see a couple of drivers with 2 warnings. That would be Juiced in P5, Christmas in P7 right now. They are the only ones with 2 warnings. Everyone else 1 or 0. It's not exactly a track where corner cut warnings come easily and quickly, but we see his Sparks running wide. Was that his first one? Or was he okay? Nope, that was his first one indeed. We had to wait a couple seconds for our telemetry to update, but that was in fact his first warning of the race. Just running a little bit wide in Spoon, and the game does not appreciate that whatsoever.
No, of course, no matter wet or dry, this game will punish you if you run over the track limits, and it's a bit more punishing in these conditions, of course, because sometimes you may do it just because if anything, you've had a bit of a slide or made an error, but the game doesn't tell the difference. So if you make a mistake, you will find yourself with a warning. As of yet, nobody's got a penalty, but as you mentioned, I think that may change in the next few laps because there are a few on the verge.
Yeah, one spot as we go on board with Matthijs. There's not much going on outside of that. Not many overtakes. And you see how slow he has to take it around here. You have to be really careful. One spot where you can easily get a penalty is here. Degna 1, Degna 2 as well if you run a little bit wide, but generally drivers don't do that. But Degna 1 is a tricky one. The hairpin here, not so much. One factor that really plays into not a lot of penalties being dished out around this track is, of course, that most of this track is surrounded by either grass or gravel, and as such the drivers do not want to tip their tires onto that sort of surface. Spoon's exit here, or first part of Spoon on the outside, that's tarmac and the rumble strip, so that's something the drivers might get on, as we saw with Sparks earlier. But other than that, maybe here 130R, but it is a corner that again is not as frightening anymore as it used to be. And then the Cassia Triangle, second part of Cassia Triangle, really more so than the first, because you want to get an early exit out of that corner because of this long straight as Matthijs almost loses the car here. First one into the 1 minute 38s, but Timon immediately gets him back and gets the fastest lap. They are getting quicker and quicker, so you can see these intermediate tires not even close to the end of their lifespan whatsoever. They're about halfway to the 70% mark, which means they're about 35%. At least theoretically they should be. I'm quickly looking at the telemetry, and yeah, they are. About 35% for basically everyone. You know, give or take a little bit, give or take a couple of percentage points. We're at about the 35% mark for these tires, so the tire data actually checks out.
Gotta say, I think Alfa Romeo are in a really strong position here. Just obviously 1 and 3 on the road, and they can virtually control the strategy when it comes around to the pit stop phase. And Sparks may be in a position where he isn't really able to counteract what both of them do. And Matthijs continues to pull a few tenths further clear, which is only going to help him in that regard. And Timon, who I believe used quite a lot of ERS on the previous lap, is continuing to hound the back of that Haas. But yeah, Alfa Romeo really looking good at the moment, and being able to control the strategy at the front is definitely a major advantage for them.
Yeah, it needs to be said, Alfa Romeo are in a Constructors' Championship battle of their own. Of course, not for the championship win, but certainly over second place. They're only 18 points behind Williams, and with a 1-2 here, there might be something going their way. On countback, needs to be said, Alfa Romeo have 3 wins, Williams have 2, so if Alfa Romeo win this here, or even if they don't win this, as long as Williams don't win, Alfa Romeo have a chance here. All they need is 18 points. They don't even need 19 to care about the countback or anything. 18 points on Williams is all they need, and right now they are on 26, and Williams are only on 6. Actually, they might be on 27. Yep, they are, thanks to Timon's fastest lap. So, as things stand, Alfa Romeo would actually overtake Williams and take second place in the constructor standings.
Yeah, it's not been Williams' night so far, and Alfa Romeo really making the most of it. Gap just starting to form, Sparks looking to get a second clearer time, and a couple of early pit stops from Wouters and Dario. I've got to say, that could be a lap or two too early on that one.
Yeah, it's certainly risky. I want to see if they had front wing changes. No, they did not. Normal pit stops. Nothing crazy. Yeah, 2.6 seconds, the classic pit stop time online. In case you are wondering why I say the classic pit stop time online. For those of you who are watching, every driver has the same pit stop time online. It's not true in my team, driver career, any of the single player modes, but in multiplayer you always get a 2.636 second pit stop. It's always the same as Domi and Duncan are now in the pit lane, so we have our next pitters here. Again, I still find that a bit early. I was expecting them to come in about lap 11. This is lap 9 now, end of lap 9, so they would have to go 18 on these tires. Possible. Puncture territory waiting near the end. Suso following in as well. But again, it's a bit risky as Domi comes out ahead of Wouters. Just about. Oh, the camera is not helping. No, Wouters round the outside takes the position. That is a daring move right there from the Mercedes driver. Well done. Around the outside. It's helpful that turns 1 and 2 are slightly banked, and as such you can pull off these moves around the outside quite well, as Wouters just showed here. Well done.
That's crucial for Wouters. I'm guessing always Domi very nearly ran it into the gravel at the first Stegner. Maybe slightly overestimating how much grip the new tyres would give him. But yeah, I'm guessing Domi must have tried to cover off Wouters, but it hasn't worked. So really, that hasn't worked at all well for Domi in the grand scheme of things. And for Wouters, Domi and Duncan, they were sort of running in the lower half of the top 10. So I'm a little bit surprised they've taken the gamble to pit so early. But maybe for the likes of Dario and Suso, it's more understandable because of their positions.
Oh, Vasta Racer comes in. Vasta Racer, the first one of the top 5 to pull the plug and say, hey, I'm going into the pit lane. I want new intermediates. So he's had enough of these and he wants the undercut on everyone else now. Will it be successful? That is the question. Can he make up some positions? Let's look at Wouters actually, as he is there. I think it should be fine for Vasta Racer to stay ahead of Wouters. But he will also, yeah, there you go, quite easily. Look at that, the gap is quite significant here. We're talking about 2 seconds that Vasta Racer is ahead of Wouters, so everything fine there for the German in the Red Bull, as he now has a bunch of clear air in front of him, so he should be making some good laps. It's going to be interesting to see if Matthias Sparks and Timon will respond, as Sparks and Timon got a lot closer over the last lap and a half. Only half a second between those two drivers.
I have to say, I fear for the likes of Juiced, Blizzard and Christmas, because with Wouters only being 2 seconds behind Vasta Racer, by the time those 3 guys come into the pits, it's very likely that they'll be either very close with or slightly behind Wouters due to the undercut, so that might not work too well for them as Christmas picks up the first penalty of the race to add to that issue I just mentioned. But as you were saying, yeah, Matthias really flying at the moment, and Timon just not letting Sparks have any breathing space. I wonder if one of the Alfa Romeos will pit at the end of this lap.
Yes.
Yep, Timon is in.
Timon pulling the plug here, pulling the trigger, and Juice and Blizzard and Christmas all follow in, and Blizzard gets himself a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He will not serve that right now, but if he doesn't pit anymore, he will get 5 seconds added to his time at the end of the race. And I think that's also a penalty that is not appealable, so he won't get that removed in any way, as the game generally determines correctly when a driver speeds into the pit lane, as Timon has re-emerged just before Vasta Racer, just ahead of him, and stays in a net third position right now. Yeah, the one driver I'm looking at right now is Gamer in the standings. A P3 right now. No one in front by 5 seconds. No one behind by 4 seconds. And really the question is, where's he going to emerge? Where's he going to come out after his pit stop? I mean, you add 21 seconds. And right now, oh, apologies. Right now, that would be behind Duncan.
Ooh, that's a sort of big train of cars that's developed there. And I'm a little bit surprised, actually. It's good news for Juiced and Blizzard that they managed to rejoin in front of Wouters. But the pain gets added for Christmas because he's behind Wouters, Domi, and Duncan, so that's not worked at all well for Christmas, and he's lost 3 positions there to, well, he was behind Blizzard, now he's got 3 cars between himself and Blizzard.
Here come the leaders, Matthijs and Sparks, which means Gamer has to stay out for at least one more lap. He cannot pit now, double stack, not really advisable for these drivers. Matthijs not getting held here by Sparks. As Lee retires, where is that? That is the exit virtual safety car. Oh, he's middle of the track. Oh my goodness, oh no, I think I know what may have happened. I think he tried to pull into the pit lane and he hit the pit wall. How is that only a virtual safety car when the car is literally in the middle of the road? Explain that to me right now. I do not understand the decision by race control here to only go for a virtual safety car. But it helps Matthijs and Timon. Timon, who has made it past Sparks. And Recon gets a drive-through penalty for speeding on the virtual safety car. He is, however, in P18, so... Well, it's really just the final nail in the coffin, isn't it, for him? Very, very unfortunate there. Does anyone else have a drive-through as well? Let's see. It doesn't show, unfortunately. If I go here, it should. Only Recon. There we go.
Gotta say, we came into this race talking about how Williams could still win the Constructors. I'll tell you what, with Alfa Romeo's being where they are, it's very likely they won't even finish second at the end of all this. If that virtual safety car had come out 5-10 seconds earlier, that would have worked beautifully for Sparks, but as it is, he's lost that provisional P2 to Timon, and Alfa Romeo are exactly where they want to be.
Yeah, indeed. It's worked an absolute treat for the Alfa Romeos as Gil now comes in. Gamer staying out another lap. That, to me, is interesting because his tires are getting to the point where they are almost done. We're talking 60% tire wear on his rears. So, for Gamer, I mean... Why is he still out there? Is he trying to go for an overcut? Does he want the fresher tires at the end? You can't really overtake well around here, certainly not in the rain. Hold on. Okay, it is still raining. For a second I thought it stopped, but... That was just the camera angle, I think. From what we heard from the weather forecast, it will remain rainy throughout the whole race, so there will not be any dry running whatsoever, but can't always trust the weather forecast. You all know it. Time and time again, we've seen it in our private lives. You look at the weather forecast, you think, oh, today's going to be a sunny day. You open the curtains, it starts raining. You can never trust it fully, but I think it's gonna stay rainy for the rest of the race. So what is Gamer's strategy here? I don't really understand.
If I had to say what I think he may be thinking, where he was at the start of the race, just outside the top 10, he was around a lot of drivers like Wouters, Domi, Duncan, and Dario, who pitted super early on their first pit stop. Maybe he's thinking, if I pit later than I probably should do, I'll have a major opportunity to get some of these guys that have gone for pit stops that are probably a lap or two too early. So that may be what's come into his thinking, but he has stayed out again, as has Casper and Jordan.
Yeah, they're going for the overcut here. Interesting strategy. Right now, if Gamer were to pit at the end of this lap, well, really, if he were to pit right now, which obviously he can't, but judging by that gap, he would re-emerge right around where Ashbest is, possibly behind, possibly in front, certainly very, very close to Ashbest in P14. As Recon retires in the pit lane, he's had enough of this race, and he parks his car in the garage. Very, very unlucky race for him, and our second retirement of the day. But yeah, we're looking at Gamer here. It's going to be interesting. Hopefully he's going to create some sort of entertainment here with a little bit of a charge through the field. Certainly not the whole field, but some of it, as that yellow flag is for Recon's sort of ghost car re-emerging onto the track and now retiring off to the side. Nothing major going to happen from that, hopefully. And Gamer on his way into the pit lane, yes or no? The spanner is showing on the heads-up display, and he is coming in. Will Casper join? Also, his spanner is showing there, as is Jordan's. They all follow in. So the top 3 on track, now in the pit lane after 15 laps. They decide to take their pit stop now, and we'll have 12 remaining as Matthijs reassumes the lead with his teammate Timon in second and Alfa Romeo 1-2.
Gotta say, just looking at Gamer actually did a personal best on his last full lap on those intermediate tyres. So, tell you what, he wasn't that slow considering that his tyres were really starting to go off. His pace was still pretty decent. There were quicker drivers out there, but he was comfortably clearer than those others that stayed out as well. So, tell you what, he's outside the points at the moment, but he could make up a lot of positions in the latter phase of his race with the fresh tyres he'll have on board. He's rejoining P13 though, so just behind Dario, so he's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, he's very close to Dario. We're looking at that battle right now because I think this is most likely to give us an overtake at least. We haven't had too many over the course of this race, so most of them happened sort of in the pit lane. But yeah, CRG Gamer trying to maybe get a couple of positions out of this. And Dario would be his first victim. Where's he going to try it? He gets a better run through the first part of Spoon here. Misses the apex of the second part. Will use his overtake. How much overtake will he use? Will he try to send it maybe into the Cassia triangle? He's used his overtake already. He's not close enough here, it seems. No, certainly not. And no opportunity here. He might have a run into turn 1 if he gets a good exit here. Maybe, yeah, he's trying it. Uses all of his overtake, but he doesn't get closer as Dario used a lot of it as well. And no chance here for Gamers. Dario goes defensive on the overtake button, on the ERS usage. No chance for Gamer past Dario, past the Ferrari driver on 7-lap older intermediate tires. So Gamer has a huge advantage here, but he can't make it work just yet.
Dario hasn't got much ERS available though, so eventually he will have a much better chance, Gamer, to get past Dario. He just needs to bide his time and be patient because there's only so much ERS Dario rather can get away with using. And back at the front, Sparks hasn't really got any answer at the moment to the pace of the Alfa Romeos. And if anything, he's starting to come under a bit of threat from Master Racer.
Yeah, it's getting closer there. In fact, there's a little bit of a train forming right behind Sparks. Matthijs is now 3 seconds clear of time and 4 seconds clear of Sparks. And then a little bit of a train. I don't want to overstate this, but a little bit of a train there from Sparks all the way down to Blizzard. P3, 4, 5, and 6. All within a second of each other. Obviously, Blizzard with that 5-second penalty for entering the pits too fast. Not slowing down in time.
Gamer goes for the move at the Casio triangle, but there was a bit of contact between the pair, and he had to back out, but he's going to go for it again. Dario had a huge moment through the last corner, and that's going to surely leave him vulnerable to the half. Oof. This is way too close. Gamer gets the inside. Surely he's going to have a better traction. Yes, he does. It's up to 12. But my goodness me, Dario was keen not to give that one up.
Yeah, and Gamer was very keen on getting the inside into turn 1. That gap was very, very close and ever closing as well. And Gamer just about fit through that. This is how strong you have to defend, and even stronger than that, in order to get the inside for turn 1. As Gamer took that and got the position up to P12 he goes. What a daring maneuver right there from Gamer. And it's only for P12 so far, but now he's got a chance of getting a couple more. Oh, apologies. Pressed the wrong button. I wanted to see this. 3 laps difference now between him and Ash Best. 4 laps difference on tires between him and Christmas. So he should have a pace advantage. Ash Best might be the trickiest one of the sort of 5 next drivers in front of him, who are all very, very close.
Yeah, the problem he may have against Ash Best is he's got a lot of ERS that he's got saved. So, from that aspect, it's going to be tougher moves for Gamer. And like you mentioned, those in front of Ash Best have even older tyres. So, Ash Best could prove to be the toughest obstacle yet. But as we saw against Dario, Gamer's not afraid to go for the adventurous moves. So, expect that he'll probably find a way past Ash Best. But how long will it take? That's the question.
Yeah, that is indeed the question. How long is it going to take him? We only have 9 more laps to go, as the drivers have just started lap 19 about 30 seconds ago. And they're already, what is that? Almost 40% through the lap. So this is how quick it goes here. Very, very fast lap around here as... yeah, we have Gamer trying to get closer and closer, inching nearer to Ash Best. Jordan picking up a 3-second time penalty. That will not be all too consequential. P16 right now, he's not battling for points. And I think he will be very disappointed with himself so far, and I don't think much will change as Gamer now trying to get closer to Ash Best. Can he put a move on him? Probably not this lap, maybe the next one. But you mentioned it, Ash Best's ERS, I mean, look at that. Bottom right corner, 85%. He's using a little bit here just to defend, just to stay away from Gamer. I mean, with that much ERS in hand, I don't see a way for Gamer to get past him at all.
It's going to be super tough. He may need a mistake similar to the one he got with Dario, but he's got a really nice exit onto the main straight here. And he's close. Is he going to get alongside in time? No, he's not. So again, that ERS that Ash Best saved really helping him out there. And of course, both of these two will gain a position at the end because Christmas has now picked up his 2nd penalty. And that's going to be really critical. It's very likely that will cost him any chance of points this evening.
Yeah, I'm wondering right now, how many eyes does Ash Best have in his rearview mirrors? It's at least 1.5. I'm pretty sure. Ash Best probably isn't focusing too much on what's going on in front. At least at the typical overtaking spots around here, which is obviously turn 1, Casio Triangle, sort of 130R. In all these places, Ash Best is just looking in the mirror, trying to see, is Gamer coming closer? Is he getting closer? Is he a danger? And if he is, well, that overtake button is right there for him to make sure that that doesn't happen, as he uses some of that to defend. And here comes Gamer, though. Gamer is getting closer. With the move into the Casio Triangle, he might fancy his chances. Oh, and Ash Best goes too deep and opens the inside for Gamer anyway. Oh, Ash Best losing the position all on his own.
Dom is using the last remains of his ERS to try and attack Wouters, but he's not close enough into turn 1 on this occasion. This is really the 2 cars that are leading this little train at the moment, and yeah, Ashbest maybe just so focused on what was going on behind him there into the Casio triangle. He just made a simple error, missed his braking point. Thankfully, he didn't go into the back of Christmas, but he just basically handed that position to Gamer, and that was probably Gamer's toughest obstacle overcome. So now, I don't see any reason at all why he couldn't potentially get P7 by the end of his race, especially when you bear in mind he's yet to pick up a single warning.
Yeah, that is remarkable, and it is one thing that always is important to bear in mind. Penalties are just so crucial, and if you stay completely warning free, not just penalty free, but warning free, I mean, that is a feat in and of itself. Wouters, Duncan, and Gamer, the only three drivers so far in this race still to pick up a single warning. They have kept it clean all throughout. Not once did they leave the track. And it is something that I always like commending drivers on. It's something that is very, very difficult to achieve. On some tracks easier than on others, but around here maybe it's a bit easier, but then again you have these conditions. So it is rainy, the car is much more difficult to control, and that in and of itself, as we saw with Sparks earlier, his only warning, we had that on stream, just ran a little bit wide through Spoon, and boom, there you go. That's a warning right there, slapped to his name. Not that that's a penalty. Ultimately, most of these drivers now on no penalties whatsoever, but a warning. You get 3 of those, and that is a penalty.
And it's so costly, especially obviously with a tiered format at PSGL, and obviously pretty much most of the other top leagues as well. It's so crucial more than ever because everyone's so even on pace. You can potentially, by getting even 1 or 2 penalties, you're looking at potentially losing about 5-6 positions on some occasions. So just by staying penalty free, it can make such a difference to your end result. And sometimes, you know, pace is a given with all these drives, but consistency is more of a problem. Looks like Christmas had a poor exit there out of the hairpin, and that's going to give Gamer the opportunity to go down the inside into Spoon Curve, and there's nothing Christmas could do there. And yeah, in his last couple of overtakes, Gamer's kind of been handed the opportunities to overtake rather than having to work so hard for them.
Yeah, it certainly helps. I mean, he's not going to complain about that, is he? He's just going to say, hey, you know what? You make a mistake, I'll take the position. Sure, works for me. And he is now in the points. And you mentioned the penalties as Timon gets the fastest lap of the race, 37.2. 2 seconds faster now than they were at the start of the race. Jordan gets a penalty. He should be on 6 seconds now. Again, not consequential at all. He will lose 1 position to Gil as it stands, but ultimately, yeah, it won't matter too much. But you look at Christmas right now, you mentioned the penalties. He's in P11 right now, 6 seconds. That means he will drop to P15 at least, maybe P16 if Gil gets closer. And that's just 2 penalties right there. Even if he had just 1, he would drop, as it stands right now, 3 positions. So that is how much of a difference a single penalty can make.
Yeah, thankfully for Blizzard, for instance, who's got that 5-second penalty for his pit lane speeding error, he's nearly got that 5-second gap to the car behind him. It's by far and away the biggest gap out there, and despite the 5-second penalty, he may not lose a position out of that.
Yeah, that's the flip side of it. Sometimes a 3-second penalty can cost you 3 positions, and sometimes a 5-second penalty can cost you nothing. So it's very interesting how this sometimes works, but I'm pretty sure Blizzard won't complain. If he does lose a position, I'm pretty sure he won't complain either, because ultimately, for speeding in the pit lane, you only have yourself to blame.
Yeah, it's just one of those, unfortunately. You obviously don't want to lose any time going into the pit, so you take it as far as you can dare, and obviously sometimes that means you do go slightly over the limits, as happened with Blizzard on that occasion. But as it stands, at least, he will still be in 6th. The one threat to him might be Gamer, but right now he's just behind Duncan and Domi, and he's struggling to find a way through, and he actually went slightly wide into turn 1 in his attempts to do so. So there might just be too many cars between Gamer and Blizzard for Gamer to impact on Blizzard's P6.
Yeah, it seems so. As Jordan is now in the pit lane, is it to retire? What has happened there? No, it doesn't seem like it is to retire, as he is re-emerging from the pit lane with another set of inters, I would assume. I mean, everything else would just surprise me. Yeah, another set of inters. So, oh, I think I know what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
He's trying to take the fastest lap away from the Alfa Romeo, guys.
Clever thinking from Williams, but will it be enough?
Well, if we make the calculation right now, 28 points for Alfa Romeo, Juice in P5, that is 16, 12, 10, 8, 6. That is 6 points, so 22 the difference. If he gets the fastest lap. Right now, 23 actually, as Timon has the fastest lap. But that'd be 22. The gap is only 18. So what they would need right now is Juice to get past both Vasta Racer and Sparks, and Jordan to take the fastest lap away as Matthijs gets the fastest lap. So we're quickly going to look at this, because look at the gap. It's not that far away. Juice is about 2 seconds away from third place and keeping the lead in the standings. However, it needs to also be said, actually, I just realized 18 points wouldn't be enough, because 18 points is the gap, and again, the Alfa Romeos have more wins this season than the Williams do, so they would have to cut it down to 17 somehow, which means either Sparks makes it past Timon, which I don't see happening, or Juice makes it past 3 in the last 3 laps, which I also don't see happening. But it is a valiant effort, and maybe either Matthijs or Timon make a costly mistake that will keep Williams in here. They just need to keep it calm, really, the two Alfa Romeo.
And inside of a hairpin, Gamer goes for it on Duncan, but Duncan just about gets enough traction to stay in front. Gamer obviously knows he's running out of time now, and went for a Kobayashi-esque move, but Duncan defended it very nicely. The only other thing to note, which potentially confuses the constructor situation a bit more between Williams and Alfa Romeo, is that both Timon and Juiced are 1 warning away from a penalty. So another warning now, particularly for Timon, would be really critical.
Indeed, that's maybe what they're hoping for. But considering they only got 2 warnings each in 26 or 25 laps, as the drivers have just started lap 26, basically means to me that it's unlikely that they get that 3rd warning in lap 26 or 27. As Gamer is looking to go past Duncan, but he's not there just yet. Once again, we can look at the difference in tire. We're 6 laps between him and Duncan, and in fact, if we look at the tire wear for all the drivers, do we have someone in puncture territory? No, surprisingly not. The worst one out there right now, in the top 10 at least, is Wouters at 63% on the rears. 70 is the magical mark, is the magical number, so it seems like they will actually all be fine for punctures, but these tires have not a lot of life left in them. Difference between Gamer and Aero, almost 30%.
Yeah, that extra tyre life is really paying dividends for Gamer right now, but again, he tried to go around the outside of a hairpin this time, and again, no way through, and he actually lost a bit of ground to Duncan, so Gamer running out of time, running out of opportunities, and right now he's just saying, please Duncan, please make a mistake, because that's how he made his way past Christmas and Ashfest, and right now Duncan is putting his car in all the right places to hold on to that P9, but I have to say Matthijs up front has driven an absolutely stunning race. No one has appeared to get anywhere near him this evening.
Yeah, I feel a little bit bad for him, because every time a driver does this here on the stream, we don't feature them in the stream that much, or on the stream that much, so we didn't see much of that Alfa Romeo of Matthijs. But yeah, absolutely commendable race there, just dominating from the front, and it's almost like there was never a doubt that Matthijs was going to win this race. 5 seconds now, the gap. Truly, truly remarkable race. But we're going to keep our eyes on Gamer here, because this might still be an overtake and we don't want to miss it. But we're going to have to cut to Matthijs eventually, as he is now heading out of the hairpin and towards Spoon. You can see it on the minimap, the red little dot in the top left of the minimap. That is a Matthijs right now through the left-hander of Spoon. Gil picks up a 3-second time penalty. Not that that will matter whatsoever. Yellow flag sector 2. That is Wasserracer.
Wasserracer.
Wasserracer. Oh my goodness, thanks for ghosting. And he's off again. Oh no, it all comes undone. Wasserracer retires from the session. Oh no. Wasserracer out on the final lap, as Matthijs will come across the line to take the victory here at the season finale, the Japanese Grand Prix. Timon makes it second and Sparks third, which means Haas are your Constructors Champions of PSGL Season 27 F1.
Oh! Gamer and what on earth's happening here?
3 drivers out. Ashbest, Gamer, and Domi and Suso and Gil get points. And Dario is spinning. Dario, he could have gotten a point. And he's just spinning on the pit entry. Jordan gets P11. Oh my goodness, a massive crash right there. Ashbest, Gamer, and Tommy all crashing just before the line. I have never seen that before. I've commentated races for 15 years almost, more than half of my life. Never have I seen 3 drivers, or really any driver, crash just before the line on the final lap.
I really have no words for what happened there. From my brief look, it maybe looked like there was contact between Domi and Gamer. Maybe Ashbest was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, but I'm sure we'll get plenty of camera angles from it over the next 24 hours, because I don't think that's an incident we'll be hearing the last of. But Alfa Romeo won't care about that. They should have second in the Constructors, and what an effort from the pair of them this evening.
Yeah, and it needs to be said, one thing to note here is that for Timon, Dario, and Domi, this was their final race in PSGL PS4. I think some of them might move over to the PC side, but on PS4, for Timon, I think a worthy end in P2. For Domi, for Dario, I think the donuts right at the end, I think that was sort of a celebration of this being his last PSGL PS4 race. For Domi, well, 1 lap down, he is being counted, but I don't think that's how he wanted to leave this league. But it is Matthijs winning the race, Timon second, which means Haas are your Constructors Champions, and Alfa Romeo snatched second place away from Williams at the buzzer. What a finale that was. We're trying to get the top 3 into the interviews right now. Hopefully they will join. That would be Matthijs, Timon, and Sparks. I hope they join. We will see. I'll try to pull them in as soon as I can. But what a season finale that was. We had everything. We had rain. We had a very close qualifying. We had Gamer making overtakes happen. Yeah, this really, really, really had everything.
Yeah, not a... when Domi probably thought coming into tonight he wanted to go out with a bang, I don't think that's quite what he had in mind.
Yeah, that's one way to put it, yeah.
I've never seen anything like that. 3 drivers going out around the final turn on the final lap, and yeah, no words can describe what happened there. But the top 3 will be wondering what we're fussing about on that one, and all 3 of them deserve a lot of credit for the way they drove. Particularly Sparks, I have to say, to an extent, because we know how difficult it can be once you've won the championship to find that same motivation and momentum.
Yeah, certainly. Once once the championship has been decided, it's easy to just relax and not take it so seriously. So for Sparks to do as well as he did, to get a 3rd place here in the season finale when he's already been crowned the champion, really, really remarkable drive there. As we have Sparks in the waiting room, we are obviously waiting for Matthijs and Timon as well. I don't know if they will join. I hope they do. We gotta end the season properly. In fact, Timon will join, and there is Sparks. You can hear that voice immediately.
I'll speak to Timon.
There you go. Yeah, someone pulled you guys in. It wasn't me. I can tell you that much. So, bit surprised. I don't know who that was. Jake, was that you?
It wasn't me.
Huh. Someone is playing games with us here, but let's pull Matthijs in as well. So we have our top 3 finishers right here, the full podium. Let's go in sort of order from bottom to top, so to speak. Let's start with the drivers and now constructors champion as well, CRG Sparks. How difficult was it to sort of, get motivated for this final race? You're already the champion. You've already won. And, how much was it to get into this race and motivate yourself?
Yeah, it genuinely was quite difficult, to be honest. I think I didn't start practicing until like Friday or Saturday, which is quite late for me. I usually start on like a Wednesday or something. So yeah, it was quite difficult, but I just pushed myself through it. I've done a bit of practice, not as much as I usually do. But yeah, motivation's been quite low, so I'm looking forward to a break.
Yeah, how are you gonna spend the 3 weeks now between tonight and the season opener for season 28?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, we'll just not play F1 for a bit, and then a week or two, and then we'll get back in the grind for Bahrain.
Yeah, Bahrain short. Are you looking forward to that track? I don't think it's ever been raced in PSGL, so certainly a change. You looking forward to it?
I don't know. I'm not really a fan of the proper layout at Bahrain, the long layout. So we'll have to see. It doesn't look awful, but it doesn't look great. But I can't judge it until I've drove it. So yeah, it'll be exciting. I think the gaps will be very close. There's possibly full qualifying next season, which will make it a bit more interesting. So it's all to play for. There's new guys coming up as well. So it's going to be very interesting, I think.
Yeah, and the race is going to be a 100% race, obviously on a shorter track, yeah. But ultimately, because the track is more than half as long as Bahrain full is, it will be quite a long race.
Yeah, it will be. It's going to be one of those races like Singapore, I think. Maybe a little bit less endurance, but it will definitely be up there.
Yeah. Okay. Jake, do you have any questions for Sparks?
First of all, congratulations on sealing the championship last week. If a race had been dry, do you think it would have worked better for you than in the wet?
Well, thank you. But I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, Matthijs was really quick. My excuse is I've changed my brake, so that's where I lost a bit of pace. But I've never raced with this load cell in the wet, so that's my excuse. But nevertheless, Matthijs was extremely quick. But I think if it was dry, yes, you would have had a chance. Even if I was quicker than Matthijs, I think I wouldn't been able to pass him. I think he was lapping maybe a tenth or two quicker than me. And then when Simon got ahead of me, it was just impossible. So I don't know. I think it was dry, of course. Yeah, definitely. We would have had a chance for the win. But that's no hindsight, so no point.
Okay. And also, obviously, Timon managed to get the undercut on you during the pit stop phase. Was that something you were expecting, obviously, with Alfa Romeo having a lot of advantage with them having 2 cars up there at the front?
I'm not too sure, because sometimes the inters are quicker, you might know, if you go like in the overcut. sometimes they're quicker because it takes a while for them to tee up. So I kind of thought, all right, we'll go for the overcut. And at the time, my engineer told me if I pit the lap Thyman pit, tyres will be on the edge. But I think at the end of the race, I was in 64%, so I could have easily pit. But again, that's all in hindsight. So I don't know. I felt when the virtual safety car came out, we might have had a chance at staying ahead of him, but it didn't really help. So yeah, I was kind of expecting to get jumped, but not at the same time.
All right, congratulations on being newly crowned Constructors Champions as well.
Thanks, mate.
All right, now we're moving on to second place in this race. And one of the drivers who have catapulted Alfa Romeo into second place in the Constructors as well on the final race here, CRG Timon. Timon, congratulations on your second place. What was that race like? I mean, it was your last race in PSGL PS4. You got second place. You jumped Williams in the Constructors. Talk me through it. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty happy. To end up with a P2 is pretty good. Yeah, it was an interesting race because I didn't practice rain at all. I started like Saturday evening with practicing because before I was on PC practicing with Matthijs and Cedric for FNL. So I didn't have the practice time I normally had. So it was pretty difficult. And then the rain came in the race, and yeah, it was just guessing where the traction is and guessing how much speed you can gain into the corners. Yeah, I did a good undercut on Sparks. When I saw the fastest laps from the cars behind, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna pit now because Matthijs was so far in front. Even if he pitted the same lap as me, I wouldn't pit then. But he didn't lose anything, so I decided that I wanted to undercut, and it worked out pretty well. I was a bit scared when the virtual safety car came out though, because I thought, oh fuck, my undercut is not gonna work. But in the end, it did. So yeah, P2 in the end. So pretty happy.
Yeah, not just that, also, I just did the math very quickly here. P4 in the driver's standings, ultimately. You did jump Vaster. Did you see anything from your perspective on the last lap there with his crash?
No, I didn't see it, but I saw, when I finished, I saw a bunch of cars like dropping down the field, but I didn't see the crash.
Yeah, no, there were two crashes. There was Vaster who just spun on the exit of the hairpin, between the hairpin and Spoon. And then there was a 3-car crash just before the line between Ashbest, Gamer, and Dommy, I think. Yeah, we just caught the tail end of it as well. You don't really expect drivers to crash just before the line, so very difficult for us to catch that. But yeah, that was quite a bit of chaos on the final lap, but you noticed absolutely nothing.
No, I didn't.
I mean, you were in front of all of it, so not really surprising. But yeah, so what are your next plans now? Obviously, Challenger Series awaits. Other than that?
Yeah, I still want to continue PSGL on PC, of course, season 27. But yeah, still the main focus is challenges on PS4, so I will still be on PS4, and yeah, just switching around every week, I think.
All right, Jake, do you have any questions?
Yeah, congratulations first of all, Timon, on second place. Obviously, we came into this wondering could Williams overturn Haas in the constructors, and it turned out that you and Matthijs helped Alfa Romeo to second. Was that something at all that either of you were thinking about?
No, when we crossed the line, my grandfather called me and he said, "Oh, you jumped Williams in the standings." I was like, "Huh?" I didn't even know we were behind Williams. So it was a big surprise, but yeah, always nice, of course. We had a bad start in the beginning, so pretty nice to have such a comeback.
It looked like in the first stint you had a little bit more pace than Sparks, but it looked so difficult to overtake. Was that the case?
Yeah, It's just the rain and dirty air. You have no DRS, and nowadays the Formula One cars there's so much dirty air. Non-Japan, Japan, you can't even overtake. So, yeah.
Did the wet conditions ultimately suit you, or would you have preferred a dry race?
Well, I think the wet conditions suits me in the end because I did like 2 laps in the dry in the race, so I didn't know what to expect. So yeah, in the end, I was pretty happy the rain came. So yeah,
Congratulations on second.
thank you.
All right, and now we get to the winner of the race, and what a dominant performance it was. Congratulations, Matthijs. You've now been on either the top step of the podium or second in 3 of the last 4 races. Do you think you can carry this form into season 28?
Yeah, first of all, thank you. Yeah, hopefully, of course. Pace has been good lately, also in the real session, so let's hope we can continue it to the next season.
What was that race like for you? I mean, you just walked away. It was really like, did you ever have a moment where you ran danger of losing focus a little bit because you had no one to battle with? You just had to focus on yourself and the track in front of you.
Well, I wanted to extend the gap as much as possible to P2. That was my motivation this race. And at the end to take the fastest lap, but Jordan bit it and took the fastest lap off me again. Yeah, that was my motivation to keep pushing all the time.
All right, so no danger of ever losing focus.
No.
How did the rainy conditions suit you? I mean, would you have preferred a dry race, or did you like the way it ultimately came?
Well, I had very little time to practice because I had FNL on PC Saturday. I did some laps today and yesterday. Pace wasn't too good in the dry, but I did my PB in the quali on dry quali, and then in the race the rain really helped. I think because my pace I had in FNL as well inters. I was used to the feeling.
So you're a bit more of a rain driver in general, huh?
Nah, not really. Normally, yeah.
No, I'm not saying if you
Right.
prefer it. I'm just saying if you're better in it.
Well, maybe on the inters, but yeah, I don't know. To be fair.
All right. Jake, do you have any questions for him?
I do, yeah, but you may not understand this question because I just noticed your Discord picture is of the famous Dutch darts player Dirk van Dijvenbode. Just wondering, after this win, will you be getting any aubergines to celebrate?
I don't have any at home, so unfortunately not.
That probably doesn't make sense to anyone who isn't a darts fan. And same to you, really. Were you thinking about getting second in the constructors at all coming into this race?
No. I just wanted the best possible to get a little bit higher in the drivers for the car pick next season. That was all.
Oh.
Not really in the constructors.
Oh, okay. Going into next season, obviously you've been in great form lately. So, are you aiming for a title next season?
Yeah, hopefully I will go for it 100%. Yeah, to fight again at the front in the title.
All right. Congratulations on the win.
Thanks.
Alrighty, and with that, let's quickly put up once again the season 28 calendar. PSGL action will continue, obviously, throughout this break with the PC side and with the Xbox side. That will not stop just yet. But for the PlayStation side, or actually, the Xbox side is also done. Apologies. So only the PC side will continue. They will have their next couple of races at the British Grand Prix and the Italian Grand Prix. And with that, I think it is time for some closing words here. And since this is my last commentary for PSGL, I would like to speak some personal words here. I would like to thank For one, obviously, Connor to bring me on, the league admin, the big boss man. I would like to thank Owen, who was my steady co-commentator for the last seasons. I would like to thank Dan for the last 2 weeks of filling in. I would obviously like to thank Jake for tonight for filling in as well. CC Brain for the wonderful graphics that you've always seen on stream. All the drivers for the action they have provided, and of course all the viewers for enjoying these streams. And with that, as mentioned, PSGL will be back in 3 weeks with the PS4 side, and then around Bahrain short. With that, thank you very much everyone for watching, and until next time, goodbye.